Why should you build an aesthetic physique? Well, building an aesthetic physique is a hack or cheat code that will make you go from living life on hard mode to easy mode. In this video, I'm going to break down how you build an aesthetic physique that will allow you to attract the women of your dreams, become irresistible to women, but also command respect from other men. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do in order to obtain success in your health, your dating, and your relationships. I spent years dieting and lifting, and I went from being 220 pounds to being 168 pounds, lean with six-pack abs, and I know what I'm talking about when I discuss these videos because I was once in your shoes. So without wasting your guys' time, let's get straight into the video on how you build an aesthetic physique that makes you irresistible to women. So step one becomes with changing your mindset and adopting this mindset. So this mindset is to realize that fitness is a marathon and it's not a sprint. You're not in a race to try to achieve results. Everything great in life takes time to achieve. And there will be hiccups that come on the way. You will have struggles and hurdles that come up. But the most important thing is to stay consistent. Consistency is key. You have to hang in there and give it time. And as long as you keep showing up and stay consistent, you will eventually achieve your goals. The more you do something, the easier it gets. If you miss a day at the gym, don't beat yourself up over it. It's the long-term game that's really going to make a big difference. What I would suggest is set a realistic goal for yourself that you can stick to. What that means is don't work out every single day because you're going to end up burning yourself out. Instead, focus on doing full body workouts 3 times a week. For example, what I do is I work out every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. What this will do is it'll allow you to stay more consistent. There are plenty of good workout programs online that can give you a good starting point to start with. And honestly, if you can't find a program online, then literally just go on ChatGPT and ask it to build you a workout plan, and it will give you a pretty good, solid workout plan that you can adhere to. So in this mindset step, what I want you to do is I want you to sit down, close your eyes, and imagine what it will be like once you actually achieve that physique. Once you have the attention of women, once you have guys respecting you, and just envision that. Envision that for yourself. Imagine yourself with six-pack abs, big shoulders, looking completely jacked. And what that'll do is that's going to give you some motivation and give you an understanding of why you're doing this. Because when you're in the moment actually grinding it out, it's a lot more difficult to stick to if you don't have something to look forward to at the end. That'll provide you with some motivation. I also recommend that you actually write down your goals. This is some powerful stuff. Writing down your goals makes it much more likely for it to occur. There have been studies that have been done on this. You can look this up yourself that say that when you write down your goals, you're much more likely to achieve them. It does something to the wiring of your brain that makes it more likely for you to stick to your plan. Okay, now that we have this mindset part down, now we're going to start really getting into the meat and potatoes of what you need to do in order to build that aesthetic physique. So stick around. But before we do, if you found value in this so far, then please like, please comment, please subscribe. And I can't thank you guys enough for all the love and support you guys have shown me over the last few videos. I went from having less than 100 subs to having 500, and now my next goal is to hit 1,000. And I know we can do this, and every one of you subscribers are like family to me. And it really does mean the world to me that you guys show your support. So thank you guys for that. And my promise to you is if you subscribe, I will continue to make my content better and better and provide you guys with the most amount of value. So thank you again for watching. Let's continue on with the video. Okay, so step 2 is diet and leaning down. Ideally, you want to be lean enough to where you're around 15% body fat or lower. And you don't want to be too lean though. Like you don't want to be like less than 10% body fat, because then you're going to end up looking like Christian Bale from The Machinist, which is not a good look. You don't want to look like a walking skeleton, okay? So I don't want you guys to think the leaner you get, the better. There's a certain point where you don't want to be when it comes to being lean. Ideally, stick to about 10 to 15% body fat. The reason for this is because you just generally look more attractive when you're between 10 to 15% body fat. Your jawline looks more defined, your cheekbones are more visible, and your face just looks more angular. And that makes you way more attractive to women. And it's also rare. Most men sit around 20 to 25% body fat or higher. So it'll distinguish you from all the other men when you have a more lean face. And most of the models and people that we look up to that we consider generally attractive, they all usually fall between this range of 10 to 15% body fat. Like all the Marvel superheroes that you see, all of them are generally very lean. And also, if you want to be able to see those elusive six-pack abs, you're going to have to be lean. And there's a saying that abs are made in the kitchen, and that is very true. So that's why you have to make sure that your diet is on point. So I'm going to break down the exact technique that I use in order for me to keep belly fat off my midsection, stay full for longer, and also maintain muscle mass while I'm also leaning down at the same time. And you're going to need this in order for you to build that aesthetic physique. So what I would suggest, and what I did personally to lean down, is choose some form of ground protein. It can be ground turkey, it can be ground lean ground beef, it can be ground chicken, whatever protein you want. You can vary it every day if you want. And what you want to do is you want to eat about a pound of it in one sitting. Yeah, a pound. And do this earlier in the day. And what this will do is this is going to keep you full for so much longer. You're not going to be hungry enough to want to snack on anything, snack on junk food. And this just really works. It helps burn off calories because protein keeps you full for longer, and your body actually utilizes more energy and calories to actually break down protein and use it. And protein is also the building blocks for muscle. And then you also want to make sure that you're hitting your protein requirements for the day. And the way you do this is a minimum of 0.7 grams per pound of body weight is what I would recommend. And so you just do 0.7 times whatever your body weight is, and that'll give you the exact amount of grams of protein that you need. And honestly, if you eat a pound of some sort of ground protein, you're already pretty much going to be hitting your protein requirements. It's not going to take a lot to hit that requirement. And to make sure that you're keeping track of all of this, keeping track of your calories and how much protein you're eating, how much carbs, how much fat, I would recommend downloading some sort of a tracking app. The one that I recommend is Fat Secret. Fat Secret's a great app because it's actually free, unlike some of the other major tracking apps out there. And it does pretty much the same thing. You can scan the barcode of different foods and it'll tell you the exact macro breakdown, the amount of calories, all of that in there for you. And what you want to do is, so once you have that tracking app, make sure that you always hit your protein requirements for the day. That's the most important. And then the rest of the calories you can allot to carbs or fat, whichever one you prefer. But you need carbs and fat in order to first fuel your workouts and also to support your hormones. So that isn't as important, the carbs and fat ratio. The protein is probably the most important, and making sure that you're in a calorie deficit. Once you have this down, you want to figure out what your TDEE is. TDEE stands for Total Daily Energy Expenditure, and this is going to tell you a rough estimate of how many calories your body uses in order to just stay at your weight. And then once you figure that out, you just want to subtract about 200 to 500 calories from that, and that'll give you a good goal to stick to. So with the combination of you having the fitness tracker, you eating that pound of protein to keep you full for long, you're easily going to be losing a bunch of weight. And just be aware though, the more fatter you are, the more higher amount of calories you can afford to lose in a day. But the more leaner you are, I would actually reduce the amount of calories that you're actually reducing for the day, because you want to hold on to muscle mass as much as possible. And when you're in a really big calorie deficit, say we're in 500 calories or more of a deficit every day, you're more likely to also lose muscle mass too. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. You don't want to be too aggressive with it if you don't already have a lot of body fat on you. All right, so now that you have the diet part down, you're really going to want to stick around for this next step, because this is really what's going to help build the foundation of an aesthetic physique. So step 3 is to build the V-taper. When you look at aesthetic physiques across the board, what you'll find is that the ones that women find the most attractive are men that have really wide shoulders and a narrow waist, and they have big lats that create that V shape. And these people generally tend to be lean, which we kind of discussed in the previous step. This across the board for most women is the most ideal body type, having that V taper, which I feel like a lot of guys find surprising. A lot of guys tend to think that you have to be this like juiced up big bodybuilder in order to attract women, and that the more muscle mass you have, the better. That's not necessarily true. You think of physiques like Sam Sulek or Ronnie Coleman, and you're like, man, that's like the ideal body type. I'm sure all women will just love that physique, but that's not actually the case. Women tend to more like the Brad Pitt look, Brad Pitt from Fight Club or Troy. Like that type of physique is a lot more attractive to women than the big, hulky, physique. And it makes sense because guys that have that, it almost starts looking unnatural because they're using steroids to enhance their physique, and it ends up looking unnatural, and it just looks weird to a lot of women, and it turns them off. It also shows that you may be a little too obsessed with the gym, and that can also be a turnoff for women because you have to be a well-rounded man. You have to have other things that you focus on too, not just the gym. The reason why women tend to love this V-taper look is actually rooted in our evolutionary origins. The reason why this physique is so attractive to women is because having those wide shoulders, having a decent amount of muscle mass, having a narrow waist indicates to a woman that you're physically fit and that you have good genes and natural strength that can protect her and her potential offspring with you. It's just a subconscious part of their brain, and this just triggers attraction from women. And if you get down to 15% body fat or less and you have a decent amount of muscle mass, you'll know what I mean. How people treat you differently, how women treat you differently once you achieve that level of leanness and muscle mass. So honestly, the V-taper is the male equivalent to the curvy hourglass figure in females. So the curvy hourglass figure is generally considered to be the most attractive body type to most men. And the reason for that is because wider hips are more likely to be able to survive childbirth. Those mothers that have wider hips are more likely to survive that. And so we subconsciously think that a woman with those curvy hourglass figures is more attractive. And so we don't think about it, but that's just how it is. So try to think of it that way, and it makes it a little bit easier to understand the real psychology behind why having a V-taper is considered aesthetic from a female gaze perspective. So now let's get into the particular exercises that you can do in order to enhance this V-taper and get it for yourself. So what you want to do is you want to do lateral delt raises with dumbbells. And you don't want to go heavy with this. This was a mistake that I made personally. I used to go too heavy with it, and I would end up just working my traps. You just want to work this part of your shoulder, the lateral part. It's a pretty small muscle, so you don't want to go crazy with it. I would suggest starting with only 5 pounds or 10 pounds even in dumbbells on each side and just do lateral raises. And what this will do is this is going to help make your shoulders appear more wider. And you can do about 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps, and that'll be more than enough. And do this about 3 times a week, and you'll start noticing a difference in your shoulders. Your shoulders will appear more wider and more rounded. The next exercise that you want to focus on is doing lat pull downs or pull-ups. I know a lot of people can't do pull-ups, so if you can't, don't worry about it. Just do the lat pull down cable machine, and that'll help you to be able to achieve bigger lats so you have more of that V-taper look going on for you. And then make sure that you are also working your abs. The way you do this is by using something like the seated ab crunch machine at the gym, because that way you have something where you can actually increase the weight every week, because your abs are just like any other muscle. And so you do have to apply progressive overload to them in order for them to get bigger. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to be able to see your abs even if you're at a higher body fat percentage, which can really help give you that more aesthetic look. And then finally, you don't want to neglect cardio. Try to hit at least 10,000 steps a day And you don't have to jog. You just do light walks. You can do an incline walk and do that for 10,000 steps a day. And what that's going to do is that's going to help trim off some of that fat around your midsection and give you the appearance of a more narrow waist. And I've noticed when I started doing those 10,000 steps, it was so much easier to stay lean. So I would definitely suggest you guys to start doing that. So now that you have this part down, there's one last step that you have to do in order to maintain your physique. And this is the one that I neglected the most, so you're really going to want to stick around to hear this next one. Okay, so step 4 is recovery. Recovery is so important, guys, in order for you to maintain your muscle mass and also build more muscle mass. This is something that I neglected. I did not take this seriously, and honestly, it makes a huge difference. Make sure that you're getting a minimum of 8 hours of sleep a day. Sleep is where your body releases growth hormone, which helps you to put on more muscle mass. And so if you're missing out on critical hours of sleep, that's going to hinder your gains significantly. And have a consistent sleep schedule. Set your alarm every day at the same time and try to stick to it as best as you can. This will make a huge difference. And if you want to go more in detail and more in depth on how to improve your sleep to get maximum gains, then watch my video on my channel that I made regarding sleep. Another major tip that I would recommend that I wish I would have done sooner is to start using the sauna. The sauna is slept on by a lot of people. It has tremendous benefits. It honestly helps you to sleep so much better. I've noticed every time I use a sauna, I sleep like a baby at night. It helps kind of relax you. It helps enhance blood flow. It helps with muscle soreness and helps with you to recover faster from your workouts. And there's been so much more research done on this recently that shows that it can actually improve your longevity and your overall health too. So there's a bunch of benefits from it. So I definitely will recommend you guys to start using the sauna and do it after your workouts. Most gyms tend to have a sauna. So just go in there for about 20 minutes after your workout, 2 or 3 times a week, and that'll be more than enough to reap some of the benefits from it. You also want to make sure that you're giving your body time to de-stress. You want to reduce your cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and it actually hinders your ability to build more muscle mass and makes you more likely to binge eat and retain fat. So it's real important you try to reduce your cortisol levels. You can do this by doing things that you enjoy doing. You can play video games. That'll kind of help if you're into video games, or you can do things such as meditate. Meditation makes a huge difference on reducing stress levels, and going for walks out in nature will help. I've always found me going out for walks really helps my mood and helps me to just kind of de-stress and be calm. And that'll also help you to hit your 10,000 steps that I mentioned in the previous step. So try doing those things and you'll start noticing a huge difference. And this is what's really going to make it more sustainable for you. You'll be able to sustain your physique once you achieve it, and you'll start noticing that it'll become so much more easier for you to maintain and to put on more muscle mass. All right, brothers. So if you've watched to the very end of this video, then you should have everything you need in order to build that aesthetic physique that's going to attract women and also command respect from men. And I know that if you've watched this till the end, you're serious about getting in shape, and that's something to be proud of. Remember to stay consistent and not give up, and remind yourself what awaits you once you reach your end goal. Your life will change for the better, and you'll become the best version of yourself. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more videos related to fitness, then check out my channel. I have a lot of videos on there that'll help you to achieve your goals. Thanks again for watching. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. And this is Solstice, signing out.